Item, Commissioners, is number 6. It's an application for a certificate of appropriateness at 141 West 81st Street in the Upper West Side Central Park West Historic District. Docket number 14-8148, Block 1212, Lot 18. It's a Romanesque Revival-style row house with Queen Anne-style elements designed by Rossiter and Wright and built in 1886 to 87. And the application is to construct rooftop and rear yard additions. And this was heard July 8th, 2014.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sarah Carroll of the Preservation staff. This was an application for a rooftop addition and a rear yard addition and excavation beneath the footprint of the building that was presented to you on July 8th. And at that time, it consisted of a full-width rear yard addition that rose to 3 stories plus a basement. And here it is in elevation. This is the existing elevation. This is the proposed. So a 3-story full-width rear yard addition, a rooftop addition that sat on the rear wall, and removing the top floor of the rear facade to create a double height space with that rooftop addition. And at that time, we heard testimony from several neighbors and from HDC Landmarks West and the Community Board, who spoke in opposition of the project, finding that the glazing and that the scale of the additions overwhelmed the building and disrupted the unity of the row. And after considering the applicant's presentation and the public testimony, the commissioners asked for 3 things. You asked for the rooftop addition to be set back 3 feet from the rear facade, for the design of the rear yard addition to be restudied to include more scale-giving elements to relate it to the row, and that the design of the rear facade in general be integrated into the row by keeping the top plane of the top floor, and perhaps even in some elements on the design. So the application is back today, and the applicants have revised it in 3 ways. They've set the rooftop addition back 3 feet from the rear facade. They are going to reconstruct the rear facade, but in the plane of the existing, and recreating the window and door openings that match the others in the row. The rear facade will be in a white glazed brick. And the design of the rear yard addition has been revised to introduce more brick to represent the floors and a sort of more punched opening feeling. And so this is the revised elevation involving the previous proposal and the revised proposal.
Thank you, Sarah. Comments or concerns? I know that if I remember correctly, a lot of the discussion really was about the treatment of the rear facade. And I think perhaps Michael Devonshire, I know on the issue of color, I think it was not a concern to you of having this sort of this white color versus some of the other masonry, but it was more about sort of breaking down the facade that would relate better to the residential character. So some of the things that the applicant has done, I think, are things that we have, as a commission, have traditionally felt comfortable with, which is to ensure that the rear facade historic wall is actually retained. And Sarah, if you could just point out where that is and how they've set that back, and the treatment in terms of the windows is to be more reflective of what it was historically. Yes, Michael?
Just a question about that point.
Yeah.
On the posterior elevation,
Yeah.
there's like a line that indicates a kind of on the top floor of the what's that line represent? Is there a set in there? Is it jog in?
That is a glass railing.
No. The line that forms the border around the window and the door. It looks like there's like a pillar in the center and then a pillar at either side and a header over the top.
Okay, why do we have the applicant to explain any details that are required? We'll reopen the hearing.
You're talking about
Second.
Yep.
this line here.
Right.
Yeah, so we wanted to suggest that this is like an infill within the back.
Right.
So it's literally just a little scoring in the.
So it's all, it's the brick, it's flush, it's just a line you cut into.
Exactly, because we also wanted to have some sort of continuity between the design.
So how far does that project out from the wall?
Oh, it's literally, it's just an inch, like,
Because it looks like there's shade or something on that. I mean, not there. There it doesn't look like that. And that,
On this floor.
on that, yes,
this
behind
is-
that one.
This is a balcony.
No,
So-
right behind the, where it says revised rear facade proposal behind, yeah, there, it looks,
I'll explain
That, that's
what
not, that's.
That's not the area.
Floor below. That's
Huh?
not that same floor.
That
That, the
is
floor
the-
that you, that we're looking at is above that. You can't see it in that rendering.
There's another rendering which shows it, that one.
okay.
yeah.
that floor.
Okay,
There you're-
So just a sort of an inset to articulate the entrance, or the openings?
It's literally just the score.
It's a score, okay.
in
Bricks,
brick.
the same plane on
It's the
both
same-
sides of the score.
Exactly.
But that floor is not what you're seeing there. That's another,
That is,
not
that's the
visible.
rear yard addition.
oh, that's the rear yard.
Because of the
Okay.
perspective, you can't see the top floor of the rear facade,
Uh-huh.
and that is shown in this rendering.
Uh-huh.
I should add, there were questions also about the balcony protruding, and this one we have setback, so it sets back into the room.
Right, we were concerned about that projection as well. All right, comments or concerns or questions? Okay, are we fine with this? All right, good. Thank you. Make a motion to close. Okay, Chris, would you like to read that, please? Sure.
To the matter of 209 West 79th Street, Upper West Side, Central Park West Historic District. Application is to demolish the existing building. No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're not demolishing the building.
Okay. To the matter of 141 West 81st Street, Upper West Side, Central Park West Historic District. Application is to construct rooftop and rear yard additions. I recommend approval, finding that the proposed work will not be visible from a public thoroughfare, that the construction of the proposed rooftop addition will not eliminate any significant architectural features of the building, that setting the proposed rooftop addition back from the front and rear facades will help minimize the bulk of the rooftop addition and will preserve a sense of the building's original volume, that the three-story height of the rear yard addition will match the height of the existing rear yard extension and others in this block, and therefore will not overwhelm the building or the adjacent buildings. That reconstructing the top floor of the rear facade in its original plane with new window and door openings matching the existing will maintain the scale of the building and its relationship to the row, that the proposed rear yard addition will align with the existing rear extension and adjacent rear yard additions within the row, and therefore its presence will not diminish the central green space, that the proposed excavation of the small sunken areaway at the cellar level on the rear facade will not alter the rear yard's relationship to the rest of the green space, that the design of the glass facade and brick piers and spandrels will retain the building's scale and character as a row house, and that the proposed excavation will be designed and built in compliance with Department of Buildings regulations under the supervision of a licensed professional engineer to protect the building and the adjacent buildings.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? This application's been approved.